Hello Flickering Myth family and welcome to our channel. My name is EJ Marino and we have a new movie review. I'm going to be jumping into the new A24 Alex Garland collaboration. Oh yeah, we're talking about Men. You know, I went into this movie thinking I was gonna say, wow, men are just trash, but to be honest, maybe just Rory Kinnear is trash, because he does a damn good job playing multiple men. Now let's scale it back a bit. Men is the newest film from Alex Garland. He's the director behind things like Ex Machina, Annihilation, and the show Devs. He is back with a brand new horror film, but it's a bit different than his typical horror movies. What I liked about this one is it's less sci-fi, less like tech horror, and more folky, more nature, more real. There was something about this movie that really attracted me. There was a lot of 70s like British horror films. They definitely dove into the folk horror vibe a lot back then, and that's what this conjured up for me. This is a very strange movie about grief where we're seeing one woman go to the countryside to try to unwind a bit after a very big tragic incident. We'll talk about the whole movie in the next section, but yeah, that's basically the plot of it. So it's open. It's an open plot that allows a lot of metaphors, a lot of weird heady stuff, a lot of weird trippy surreal things as well. All of that just plays well with a pretty blank generic story like this. I think that's what's really interesting is the story's not trying to do too much, so it allows the weird moments to really stand out. I couldn't do like a confusing plot and surreal visuals or surreal moments. I think that is when you overload your movie a bit too much. I felt that way a bit about Annihilation. I liked Annihilation, but I thought it was trying to do a lot and be a lot and say a lot. This movie scales it back a bit. I will say by the end of the movie, I was just slightly let down by the ending specifically. It gets wild and then the movie just ends and I'm like, but I kind of wanted more. There was just like, it just right when it started getting like real crazy, real banana cuckoo pants, it just says, now we're gonna wrap things up. And I'm like, but I still have about 15 minutes in me. Like, what are we doing here? So that's what I'm saying. This movie is definitely a good ride. Now, do I love the destination by the end? Not so much, but overall, I cannot deny the power of Alex Garland, Jessie Buckley, Rory Kinnear, and a damn good trippy A24 movie. Like the title of this video, we're gonna try to figure out what the hell happened in the movie Men. I'm gonna break this down in a spoiler section here. Honestly though, this is one of those movies I can explain and spoil things to you, but you gotta see it for yourself, especially the banana cuckoo pants ending, which feels straight out of a Takashi Miike movie called Gozu. If you've seen Gozu, you know what I'm hinting at, but let's just scale it back. Let's go back to the beginning. In this movie, we see Harper, played by Jessie Buckley. She is a woman who just had her husband off himself, basically. I'm trying to say that as friendly for YouTube censors as I can. He does that act, and this leaves her alone and very tortured, very haunted by what happened. We'll talk about their whole fight in a second. So yeah, Jessie Buckley's character, Harper, decides to go to a countryside manor to just kind of unwind, to work a bit, to really like let all this kind of grief process over her. Well, she doesn't really get the chance to grieve and process anything because by the time she gets there, things get a bit weird. She meets the owner of the place, played by Rory Kinnear, and he's a bit strange, a bit off-putting, but he's fine. And, you know, she's settling in. Things start getting a bit weird. Like, she's on a FaceTime with her friend, and it glitches out in a very trippy, creepy glitches creep me out. So, yeah, I was just like, oh, what are we doing? A little bit of technology, and it starts getting a bit strange here. So Harper's trying to adjust to her time here, and goes, let me go on a walk. She ventures down into a very weird wooded area where she finds a tunnel and starts doing a little you know, just like an echo thing, and it's very cool. And this echo, the song that she makes basically comes throughout the whole movie, and I love it. The score of this, so good. We'll talk about the craftsmanship at the end. So she gets to the tunnel, does the call, which seems to awaken something at the end of the tunnel, and that figure starts following her, and she's trying to run through the woods. The moment she thinks she's safe, she turns around and sees a naked man over there. She's just like, yo, what the hell is going on? Oh my goodness. So she gets back to her house, and things seem to be normal. We go to the next day, and things are definitely not normal. Throughout all of this intro and throughout the whole film, we see a bit of the backstory of how Harper got here and what happened with her relationship to James. So James seems to be a pretty toxic dude, one of those people in a relationship that's just like, if you leave me, I'm gonna do something dramatic to myself. And there was a part of me that went, do it, bitch. Like, I couldn't with the men in this movie, specifically the James character. There is a sympathy I have for men's mental health, but at the same time, you put your hands on me, you get a little crazy, then you need to do what you need to do. And that's basically how she gets. This is a tense fight. Harper's character wants to divorce him. He says, don't do it or I'm gonna do something dramatic. And he ends up doing something dramatic, though she's a bit confused on, did he do it on purpose or was it an accident? And that seems to weigh on her. We cut through this flashback a lot, finding out more and more about this fight and this end of this relationship and the trauma she feels. I mean, she found the body. She literally saw him falling from the roof, and like, it's intense, it's hard, and she has to process this, but it's hard to do it when the naked man shows back up the next day. Harper's trying to unwind from the naked man that attacks her, so she goes to a church where she has another flashback and just screams and let it all out. Then, yeah, she meets a little boy who wants to play hide and seek. She says no. He calls her a bitch. She's like, oh, okay. So she starts speaking to a priest, which they call a vicars here. Could be my American self. Definitely did not know what that is. But he was a priest, and he seems weird. Like, they're talking. He's letting her vent. And then he starts going, but you caused this. It's this creepiness to this guy, the way he's blaming her from what happened, and he could be right, but it's just how he says it to her. Also, what's weird about this is the creepy boy we met, the naked man, the guy who owns the house, the dude we're about to see at the bar, the police man who came and arrested him, are all played by the same guy. They all have the same face. Now, I don't know if Harper recognizes that, because I sure did, even when he's CGI'd on a creepy little boy. Yeah, so she decides to run away from the priest and goes into a bar where there's more of the same guy, but all in different, like, forms. There's the bartender, some dudes at the bar, the police guy's there. All of that is here, and they all start kind of going in on Harper, like, you're here to blame, blah, blah, blah. And it's just all these men putting their issues onto her, and she has to try to figure this out. She is trying to get done with this. She wants her friend to come help her. And the naked man returns, and she's at her house by herself. And yeah, this is when the movie gets wild, because all of these men are just throwing themselves at her. It's like shape-shifting. When the lights turn out, she does this gnarly moment where she like stabs it and it like splices its hand, and it's this weird like half-cut hand for the rest of the movie. Even when it's like evolving into different things, it still has that slice. I am just like, what the hell is going on right now? Then we get to like the last 20 minutes and I'm like, truly, what the hell is happening? Harper is cornered in the bathroom by the men. In there is the younger boy who basically says, I want to play hide and seek. They play a game of hide and seek, and it just leads to more craziness. The priest becomes the main bad guy at the moment. He puts himself onto her. She stabs him, and she thinks it's good. She escapes the house. She then ends up hitting, what was his name? Jeffrey, the dude who owned the place, ends up hitting him with the car. He steals it, and I'm just like, this girl's never gonna go. Like, first off, I'm glad she tried to tell her friend where she was. She told her multiple times, I don't need your help. Finally tells her she needs her help, but does it even work? We get to the end and see it does a little bit. Yeah, Harper is going through it. She's stuck in the house with the guy, but the man is not having a good time. One, he's pregnant and gives birth to himself, and then that self gives birth to another one, and it's like this gross, weird cycle, and it's weird watching someone give birth to somebody, especially a creepy tree man. Oh yeah, because the naked dude is like putting tree branches on him. He becomes very ritualistic. We see this thing in the church as well. It feels like this wooded area, this area is being controlled by this demonic force, and it's giving birth, and we're seeing how the copies are made, but they're wrong. Like, the arm is still messed up. Nothing's really sticking. Like, it can't form itself fully until the very end when it finds a form of James, Harper's ex-husband, and oh my goodness. Here's where I thought the movie was going to get crazy. We see the births and we're like, oh my goodness, it's finally James, which you kind of felt it building towards. I was into all of that. And then the movie just ends. Like, James is just like, she talks with him, like, what do you want? He goes, I want your love. She's kind of playing with this, like, axe, and you kind of know she's gonna end up killing him. And then the movie ends. Like, title card, her friend comes and helps her out, and it just ends. And I'm like, what? Like, I was just getting into all the craziness, all the wildness, and then you just stop? Like, I needed at least 15 minutes more of the story, fleshing things out. I don't need to know what the creature is or why it's doing this, but I just wanted more from the actual story presented. I feel like I did not conclude Harper's story. Now, you all may have a different interpretation and love the ending, but personally, after the weird birth stuff, I was hyped up, wanting more, and then it just let me down. Now, this movie, as great as it's made, truly, like, the score is good, cinematography, the production design, I was in love with the house. As good as that all is, I was just a bit confused by the story. I was processing it, I was getting it, and then by the end, I just didn't know what it was trying to tell me. I love that Alex Garland is always doing these heady, like, makes you think kind of movies. I loved Ex Machina. I thought Annihilation had a weird, similar trippy ending as well, but I just wasn't completely like, I fully get what he's trying to say here. I would love if you're a big fan of this movie, or if you really fully got it, let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Like, what did you take away from this? Other than men are trash, and when a man says he's gonna off himself, well, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess, bro. Yeah, I don't know what to take away from this. Like, are men bad? Is it all men? Were all the men that she felt like she dealt with evil? Because it felt like the owner wasn't that bad, and it felt like the tree man didn't really want to particularly hurt her. Like, I was fully trying to get more from this. Like, there was a woman police officer. Was that just another Rory? Like, what? I needed just a bit more fleshing out, because it's good. It's really good. I like it, but I could have loved it, and the movie could have been great. It just never hits that full level. Alright, everyone, that was me trying to explain Men. I mean, trying to explain Men, it's hard, but trying to explain this movie feels a bit harder than that. Okay, I liked it. It was a good time. I wanted to love it, but it's almost there. It's a really good film. It just needed that extra oomph for me in that story department to make it a complete masterpiece. If I'm going to have to rank it, to me, I think it's Annihilation, Ex Machina, and Men. All three are good films. I just wanted a tiny bit more. Also, I think he directed Dredd, kind of. I would put Dredd above all of them because I love that movie. Yeah, overall, it's a good film. I wanted a bit more, but that's just on me. What did you think of Men? What did you think of Alex Garland's latest movie? Share your feelings down in the comments below. Subscribe to Flickering Myth because we make videos like this every single week. And give us a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Alright, everyone, let's talk about Men, Alex Garland movies, and hell, let's just talk about A24 down below.